Welcome to episode 4 of Virtual Festival 20 by 2020. My name is Matthew Dietrich, artistic director and violinist of Apollo. And on this episode, we welcome a very special guest, composer Gilad Cohen, along with Apollo member, violist Whitney Bullock, and festival host St.John Flynn. Please enjoy this program.
Matthew Dietrich, thank you very much for joining us again. Talk about this particular contribution to the 20 by 2020 commissioning project. This, I believe, was number 4.
Yes, and I think this is when we really started to get our groove, if you will, with our project. This performance and premiere opened our Oppression to Expression concert season, and it actually opened Midtown Arts and Theater Center Houston, this brand new venue that was built here in Houston in 2015, and we were very honored to have the very first concert there. So we were looking for something very special to open this new venue, and also to kind of, continue in the same vein of what we were doing with our commissioning project. And in this case, we wanted to explore how, the Jewish faith and the Jewish people have been influenced by oppression, and also some folk music characteristics there, and also how African Americans have been oppressed and how they've been able to overcome that in a way that's very powerful and beautiful. So we were trying to connect that in this program. And I contacted Gilad and gave him a little bit of an idea of what we were looking for in a commission. And he really took it from there and created something special for Apollo.
Well, Gilad, welcome. It's great to see you again. Talk about what your inspiration for this commission was, because it's got a fascinating genesis.
Indeed, thank you. The story begins when Apollo asked me to look for provincial music sources for Jewish music. It was quite particular, and I went to a visit in Israel, my homeland, and there I went to the National Library looking for books of old prayers, and I found this pretty old book from the beginning of the 20th century with melodies and lyrics of songs of tunes that were used in various holidays, Jewish holidays. And there was this particular tune that belongs from the service of Passover, the holiday of Passover. It's called Had Gadya, which means one goat in Aramaic. And this is the way the original tune goes, the way I found it on the paper. I'm looking at it at this very moment, the original page from the library. And I thought, it's nice. It's very simple, very folky, and I think I can take it to various interesting places. So this was the origin.
Talk a little bit about the prayer. What does the prayer say? How do we have a goat in a Passover prayer?
So the prayer is a pretty long parable, I believe is the word, in which every animal is killing another animal. The goat, I believe, is the first animal that is being eaten by another animal. Maybe it was the cat, and then it was, I don't remember. At the end, we get to the angel of death, and it's quite disturbing, I must say, especially for such a happy tune. So I thought, poor goat, let's give the goat another chance. Can I try to develop this melody and just give the goat another life, maybe 2 more lives, making it a total of 3 goats in this long blues about it.
And why did you choose to hone in on the blues?
Again, that was an idea that came from Apollo, because the concert in which the piece was to be premiered combined Jewish influences and African-American influences. And I always enjoy the blues and rock music, and this is really my background. And when I remember sitting in a cafe in Jerusalem with the same visit and starting to write the piece. I always write by hand, and just looking for some blues influenced melodies, and I came up with this melody. It goes like this. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. This is bluesy, and I wonder if I can combine this bluesy thing with the theme that I played earlier, the Jewish theme. And this combination of pretty different musical worlds I found was interesting and intriguing for me.
Gilad, sorry if I misunderstood what you said, but that's your original tune, or you heard
Yes,
that?
this was
That's
my
your original
original.
tune. I guess maybe I did. Did you know that, Whitney?
I didn't.
I didn't
No.
know that either. Okay, well that's really cool. How and the listener will be able to hear your original bluesy tune combined with the Provençal folk song. I think it's really that's really interesting.
Thank you. And even the Provençal folk tune, I try to develop it and make variations that are quite far from the original. It's part of the fun process for me.
There is a progression, isn't there, in the piece
Yes.
as we move through the three goats or the three aspects of the same goat.
Well, you said it exactly. I've never decided, is it one goat through different lives or is it three goats? But indeed, each one of them is a different step. It's really almost like three movement piece. And in the first movement, it's really the goat is quite miserable. I thought of her as being in capture, and the melody actually sounds very different. I'm using whole tone scale, which make it much darker and dissonant. And it's played by the cello. It sounds like this. Okay, so this is a very different goat than the goat that shows up two movements later. Which is a dancey, happy goat there in the mountains. Yeah.
Well, in the middle goat is portrayed by the viola. And Whitney, as the Apollo violist, talk about the role that your instrument plays in this piece.
Well, first off, the viola gets to start the whole thing. So the original bluesy melody that Gilad had demonstrated, I get to start the whole thing off. So I have to put myself in the right mindset, get us started. I remember when Gilad was listening to our first rehearsal, him singing, Gilad, you sang it to me and how you wanted it to be. And I like to think that I've evolved in my bluesiness over the years. But yes, throughout the whole piece, it's a really great viola part. So for any violists out there watching this, make your chamber ensembles perform this because you'll have a lot of fun. But I get a really cool sort of a time to play the theme, and it's in this what is it, like a klezmer style? Is that what you would like? Bam, bam. I just love it because I have so much power in that moment. I can do whatever I want and with whatever timing, and the rest of the group has to follow me for once. So
at this point in the piece, where the viola sort of plays the part of the goat who is looking forward to times of greater happiness, but also cannot detach himself from the pain of the past. That's
true. I would say, and I feel like that the viola goat never really sees any redemption in the whole piece, because I even like towards the end, I'm the one that is just cycling, and I never sort of resolve in a way. So
sorry for that.
I would say that Gilad does such a masterful job in this combination of different styles and eclecticism, and one of the reasons why I was initially drawn to Gilad's compositions is because he is a huge fan of Pink Floyd, and I think Gilad, you've done some lectures on some of the compilations and pieces of Pink Floyd throughout the years. And they're super interesting. And I just love how Gilad, this is who he is. He combines and looks for the connections between different genres of music. And I think it was a perfect match.
Now, I was going to say, are there any Pink Floyd influences here in Three Goat Blues, Gilad?
Yes, although I would say they're pretty subtle. It's one of these things that composers always want to be original, and we have all these Beethoven, Ravel, Ligeti, sitting all over on shoulders. It's very challenging to write music these days. And anyway, when so much music is accessible for us and in a way is intimidating. And I always say you want to be personal, you want to say something that is yourself, just use all these influences, and they'll come naturally and whatever combination will show up, this is you. So this is me, there's some Ravel, there's some Tchaikovsky and some Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. And I do remember two specific moments in the piece where Floyd came to mind. One of them was a transition where I needed to go from one musical place to another, different key, different texture, different volume. And I thought, okay, I can just make a nice classical transition, modulation using some common chord or something like this. Or I could do something Floyd would do, which is really enjoy and celebrate the transition, make a theme about it. And then you hear each one of the instruments glissando, plays a glissando into the next chord. So what Pink Floyd would have achieved with a wind effect, I achieved with glissandos. That was one Floydian moment. Another thing is not so much moment as a sensibility maybe, which is there was a section that repeated again and again. And I thought, okay, I should move on. And then I went to this section again a few days later and I told myself, what would Roger Waters do? Because he was really the man with the finger of saying, this is the right time to move on, which is, by the way, timing is one of the most important characteristic of every musician, of every composer. So really to be able to say no, a bit more, and then we can move on. I really remember thinking about him.
That section, the first Pink Floydian section you referenced, the second violin, which I play in this piece, has all the power there too. And so sometimes especially in performance, I'll linger in that moment and look around at my colleagues and say, hey, I got the show now. You better wait and enjoy this moment.
And you play some delay effect there in a way, right? Each one of the notes is doubled or tripled, which also comes from Pink Floyd sensibilities. Yeah.
We also do something very interesting called ponticello, where we play very close to the bridge, and it gets a very glassy kind of overtone effect too, which I think rock instruments also can do as well. So it's a combination there.
Mm-hmm.
Gilad, had you written for this ensemble of instruments before?
I think this was, you can say, my second string quartet. So yes. And again, string quartets, many composers are afraid of approaching it because of the history. Mm-hmm. And I think one good way, at least for me, efficient way, was to say, I'm going to do whatever I want to do for this ensemble, not being too concerned about what happened before. My first attempt for writing for string quartet also incorporated bass guitar in addition.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was so it was a bass guitar quintet, and that was a lot of fun. So going later to write a string quartet without the bass guitar, in a way I was more prepared because of this.
Well, Whitney, playing this piece, do you feel that there is that sense of freedom from the past, the whole string quartet repertoire, that this is something that is sort of stands alone?
Absolutely. In fact, earlier I was going to mention that I feel like that this is one of the first times in Apollo that we got, what is the word? We got the permission in a way to make sounds that weren't perfect. In fact, the more imperfect they were was the best route to take for performance. And I think that it's in a world of its own, and I'm so glad that it is not derivative and it's not conventional. So that's what makes it fun and makes it one of my favorite pieces to perform, even though I get to relive the violist's sense of existential dread throughout the piece as my goat never quite, achieves nirvana or whatever. So, but yes, St.John, I think that, and Gilad, thank you for writing this work for us. And you can kind of brush those Ligeti and Beethoven little ghosts off your shoulder, because it's just a wonderful and unique work. So
thank you so much. It's one of the fun things, of collaboration, which is I write the piece, I have some ideas, and then you bring in your own ideas. And exactly the moment both of you described, when you can actually take it, to your own place and do whatever you want with it. These are the best
Right.
moments because I'm learning from you, you know.
I think it's a good learning piece for a quartet. Let's say that they're maybe too steeped in the traditional literature. I think if you give them
Yeah.
something like Three Goat Blues, they'll think outside of the box and maybe come out of their shell a little bit. It's really helped us grow as a group and learn how to take chances in performance.
Hmm.
So it's a wonderful piece. I hope everybody
It really
enjoys
is a wonderful piece. And Gilad, thank you very much for writing it. Thank you to Apollo for commissioning it. And we look forward to hearing it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gilad. Thank you,
Thank
St. John. Thank you,
you.
Whitney.